Where's that gal, the red dress on some folks call Ida? Stole my heart away from me way down in Louisiana. Take me back, Tulsa.
Hi, I'm Jeff Moore, Project Director for the Oklahoma Historical Society's OK Pop Museum. And I want to tell you about an exciting project. In 2010, the Bob Wills family came to us and donated an amazing collection of Bob Wills artifacts, photographs, and documents. One of the great finds in this collection is a series of glass and aluminum acetate transcriptions recorded by Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys in California during the 1940s. In 2012, the Oklahoma Historical Society received a grant from the Grammy Foundation, which allowed us to have these recordings digitized at the George Blood Sound Lab in Philadelphia.
The biggest problem with the glass discs is to be sure they haven't broken. All lacquer discs are going to be susceptible to delamination and palmitic acid leaching. And you know, this disc looks great. There's some signs of age on it, but the lacquer is completely intact, and there are no serious scratches. And this is the room where we do the disc transfers. It's a Keith Monk's record cleaning machine. This thing makes quite a bit of noise. Here, I'll crank it up. So I'll put a disc on here, put some distilled water is what we work with, unless there's particularly strong contaminants or leaching on the disc. And then this arm will dry the disc. And then this is the turntable we use. Discs of this era aren't standardized like we're used to with LPs. There's no standardization for groove size, speed, or equalization, although the 16-inch transcription discs are standardized with speed. And because of the difference in stylus sizes or groove wear, we keep a set of over 30 different stylus sizes so that we can maximize the fidelity of what comes out of the disc. This turntable will play 78s as well, and we have this can do some speed adjustment with it. The turntable itself lives on a air ride suspension, which mechanically isolates us from the room, and we have a custom equalizer that we built specifically for dealing with the variability and equalization.
Once we received the digital files from the George Blood Sound Lab, we realized that there were some real gems in this collection of music. Dr. Blackburn at that point decided to partner with the Bob Wills Heritage Foundation and create an album to be released with some of the music from these recordings. We teamed up with Steve Ripley about cleaning up and bringing out the sound that was underneath the pops and the clicks.
Because people don't, you say acetate and people have no idea what you're talking about. And it's not like I'm in that business, but this is a metal disc. This is the way records were made in the 40s, and the original records were cut. And it's the way they still are. Vinyl has made a big comeback, and at this point, it would be transferred from a master tape. Start with this lacquer-coated aluminum disc, metal disc, mostly metal, and then the mastering engineer with a lathe cuts these grooves in that lacquer. And they call them lacquers generally, the professionals. The term acetate has stuck because it used to be a long time ago, cellulose, acetate, whatever that is, and that's gone, but acetate stuck. So this is, in this case, this guy did side 1 and side 2 and stuck them together, but that's what that is. And so it's coated with lacquer, you cut the grooves, and you can play that record right then. You can take it away and play it, and many were used for that purpose, as demos or tests or listening or just amusing themselves. And then the master that would look just like this is taken to the plant, and a metal stamper is made so they can stamp out the mass of records with just hot plastic. So a mold is made from the grooves. The Wills family donated the collection of Bob's personal masters. It was very exciting. It's a very exciting thing, but I imagined them being in pristine shape, and you can't play these very many times. And so Bob and the family had played them to death, and they were very scratchy. And so when they were transferred, I didn't have to do that. So what I ended up with was hundreds of songs in digital form that had been transferred, but some were so noisy and so scratchy that you could hardly hear the band, though I could tell the band was great down in there. One of the greatest bands ever in the existence of music, I'd say. There was always sort of a balancing act of eliminating noise but trying to keep the sound of the band. And I found with software that's recently been released, I could get rid of almost all the noise, but the band started sounding funny. So I tried to walk that balance beam, not fall off one way or the other. And I think we achieved it. It took a very long time. It's tedious work. After giving up 2 or 3 times, on a Thursday last fall, a software was released called RX4. You send this to this other program that shows you what all the sounds are that you're working with, whether it's band music, a guy singing the steel guitar, the fiddle, whatever, or pops and cracks and surface noise. And you start to learn what is. It's pretty tricky and it's very tedious, but I'll take this section and apply this mode called D-click. It's as simple as that. And for the initial noise, it just eliminates those pops and cracks. Here's with it. And here's without it. Now what you're left with are many other noises on most of them, scratches and hums and rumble and a guy, on one of the songs, a guy lays his bass fiddle down and you hear that, and you hear, talking. And I mean, I love all of that. I kept all of that human sort of stuff and just tried to eliminate anything that took away from the listening experience. And then it's, you send it back, and after, days of working on one section, which I did many times, you send it back and it becomes part of the process. And then I did a lot of things that had to do with conventional audio, which is EQ, compression, and sort of a mastering, finalizing. Well, started to say, I always think that Bob was here with me and chuckling because it went straight from recording to these discs in the 40s through all these decades till Steve Ripley on a farm, an hour from Tulsa, starts digitally manipulating them, just trying to get back to the sound that Bob heard that day when he was in the studio or at the session. And then I think wisely, we made vinyl instead as the first thing, not MP3s and not, CDs. So it went from recording to vinyl, for vinyl, and then the first time it's been heard in almost 70 years is vinyl. With this Bob Wills thing, it was sort of the same way. I was transported to the middle of those sessions. I mean, I felt lucky to be at least some version of that. And I can see Joe Hawley, I can see Alex Brashear, and I can see Eldon Shamblin in my mind. And the things that I learned were, they were doing their, you get to know that they're doing their best and they're trying their hardest, and at the same time there's a throwaway quality to this band that is part of what made them great. They were extremely serious about it, but they were also, how do you put that? They were also extremely serious about not being overly serious about it too. It was dance music, and I think that that comes out. My daddy said always keep them dancing, and he said that because he listened to Bob Wills on KVOO, and that was the thing that a musician should do as far as he was concerned. And I think that's true. And they had to keep them dancing. That's what Bob did, Bob and the boys. They might as well be from another planet, because in general, but in those specific times when they're concentrating so hard and then also having a good time, there's this thing that it's us and then the world is out there. That's what I believe. And that's what I believe, that when I started to believe listening to these so much, was that it was a little Bob Wills world, and I was happy to be there.
To me, the amazing quality to these songs is the fact that it feels like you're in the studio or you're at a live performance. Bob is on top of his game, just directing the band to every moment, to whenever they're supposed to come in on a solo. And the solos are incredible. And I think the energy that comes from this live recording is what makes these songs special. The real hero in this story is Casey Dickens. He played drums for Bob Wills and was a lifelong friend of the family. He was the one that Bob and Betty Wills entrusted to keep these recordings safe over the many years. And when he gave them to the Bob Wills Heritage Foundation, they decided that they needed to give them to the Historical Society, and we became partners in this effort to bring the music to you.